Hello and welcome back to Adaptation, the vlog for film adaptations and the original material they're based on. I'm Jessica Dunn, and you may have noticed, after the one other vlog that we've so far posted in the month of May, we have yet again themed this month after a particular genre. In this case, superheroes. After all, with certain massive franchise news coming out that I can't really seem to recall right now, the topic seems, well, topical. So this week we'll be discussing our hosts' top picks for best incarnations of superheroes. And what's more, we'd like to draw attention to some of our viewers' and commenters' opinions by presenting some of their viewpoints as well. So, to start off this list, I've always had mad love for the Justice League show that used to show on Cartoon Network. It's what I grew up with, and it's what made me fall in love with heroes. And in my opinion, it's the golden age of DC. After all, it showed all of the major players: Superman, Batman, the Martian Manhunter, Hawkgirl, the Green Lantern, the Flash, and of course Wonder Woman. So maybe you might think this is a bit of a cop-out, since technically it's not a single incarnation, it's several superheroes rolled into one. But hey, I don't care. I love the way they worked together and developed each of the characters within individual storylines. It was a great introduction to the superhero scene, and one of the main reasons why I'm still really into DC today. Along the same lines, another kid-friendly incarnation was Teen Titans, and yet another great introduction to several superheroes at once. In fact, in this case, some lesser-known superheroes and sidekicks. I mean, yeah, sure, you have the very recognizable Dick Grayson as Robin, but you also have Cyborg and Beast Boy and Raven and Starfire forming this core group, and even some cameos from Aqualad and Speedy. It was an awesome balance between funny and serious, with some storylines that just made you split your sides laughing, and other ones that just made you cry. They also covered some very intense plot lines in a way that made it accessible to kids, like racism, abandonment, even grief. The main reason why this one's on our list is that it shows these lesser-known superheroes, and it made them recognizable in a way that we wouldn't have before. And for us 90s kids, many of our hosts agree that the TV show Spider-Man, I think it was called The Amazing Spider-Man, was by far the best incarnation of our webbed friend. It was the perfect blend of camp and seriousness. When you have something like Spider-Man, you can't take just one or the other. The 60s version was way too campy, and then all the movies have just tended towards the serious, which, okay, yeah, we have some tragic storylines, but it wasn't all like that. Peter Parker was supposed to be wisecracking. And in this case, the 90s animated show really maintained that balance. And furthermore, the TV show had continuing story arcs, unlike the one-offs that they had from the 60s, so we were able to watch Peter Parker grow and mature. I mean, even the Disney show that they have currently running, you just really get to see him as a young teen and he doesn't age at all. So it was, and if you're able to find episodes, is an awesome introduction to knowing and loving Peter Parker and his masked self. Okay, so moving into a superhero incarnation from this decade, let's just admit what we're all thinking about when we mention this topic. Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. It's like the guy walked off the page and right onto the screen. It's that verbatim. RDJ is by far the closest to the real-life Iron Man I think we've ever gotten, even down to the fact that Tony has some really dark moments in his past. And just like Robert Downey Jr., that added history allows the actor to bring that additional depth to the character on screen. And we can't knock the material he's been given either. The writing in this incarnation makes him even funnier than any previous versions, and his delivery is top-notch. If we're talking about Iron Man as a whole, this version has done a lot for visibility for the superhero. The release of the first movie really boosted its visibility, and it made Iron Man a household name, and Tony Stark a beloved yet rapscallion character that everyone recognizes. And speaking of a little more visibility, we think Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury has created an adapted character that is very hard to beat. He's even been so good that in the ultimate reboot of the comic, they made a previously white character into a black man. Let's face it, he's way better than David Hasselhoff, who played him in the 90s movie. Now, I'll admit there could be some debate as to whether Nick Fury could really be considered a hero. Meh, what the hell? It's Nick Fury, or Samuel L. Jackson, or, whatever. So that's it for our hosts' contributions, but as I mentioned before, we had a few viewers weigh in on the subject, so we'd like to pay homage to them. One of our longtime followers, Andrew C. Taylor, wrote, "It has to be Christian Bale's Batman. No one really comes close." So in response to this input, Andrew, your view has somewhat split the team. One of our hosts, Ryan, apparently made a face when he heard about your viewpoints about Christian Bale's portrayal. However, I see your point, and I think some of our hosts agree. I think the actor himself might have a few flaws, but I got nothing against the Incarnation in general. Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises, and especially The Dark Knight are epic. Enough said. And our second viewer comment was courtesy of Kelly Selecki, who is very hopeful about Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool. She writes, "Really is one of the most perfect casting choices. He's charming and funny and just a tad unhinged." So we don't yet know how good of an incarnation this version is actually going to be. And it's very hard to forget the travesty that was Ryan Reynolds' portrayal as Green Lantern, although in his defense, it was the material he was given. But I'm with you, Kelly. I have high hopes for the Deadpool movie. So that wraps up our contributions for the hosts and for our followers. Thank you to our viewers and contributors, Andrew and Kelly, for their insight and for rounding out our lists for Adaptation's Best Superhero Incarnations. If you agree or disagree with any of the ones listed here, or maybe if you think we've left anyone off the list, make sure to leave your comments in the comments section. Also, if you like what we have to say and want to get in on the discussion, check out our links for our blog, Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook pages, and keep an eye out for call-outs for any future responses. Who knows? Your choices could end up in a future video. I'm just putting it out there. Don't forget to subscribe to keep in the loop for future videos, and we also welcome input on our podcast, which can be found on our blog and are available to download on iTunes. Thanks for tuning into Adaptation. Hope to see you next week. And until next time, no capes!